Hi, everyone. This is Caroline from Fiat Integrative Health in Franklin, Tennessee, and you're listening to the Fiat Health Podcast. We believe that now more than ever, the healthcare industry has become a place of confusion. And over the years, we have been asked countless questions about what true health and integration for the whole person looks like. Join us every other week as we explore topics ranging from primary care and women's health to counseling and spiritual health. We're so glad you're here. Hey there, Mike. How are you doing today?
Great, Caroline. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this started. I figured for this podcast, we would talk about just our story of how we got started, how we thought we would never be sitting here doing this 2.5 years ago when we first started this adventure together.
I never thought we'd be here either, and I didn't think there'd be anybody out there who would want to hear about it. But I believe that now because of what a great reception we have had, or this call and this idea has had amongst patients and families, but also amongst providers. Mm-hmm. That tells us, and we talk about this a lot, that we are doing a work that is much bigger than ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it is responding to a need at this time in the world. So there are probably people out there who will find some comfort in this, and we're really happy about that. And it's not our own work. We're just cooperating with God. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, why don't we start with why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background, your family, maybe why you got into medicine, and then a little bit about your work that you're doing today. So I'm a psychiatrist. I've been practicing for almost 20 years. I'm originally from Canada, and I went to college in the U.S. and met my wife. We moved up to Canada. Went to medical school there. I have a bachelor's of arts degree in liberal arts from a Great Books College, and I was really interested in philosophy. But many in my family are doctors, and to succeed in my family, you have to be a professional. I'm doing lots of work on that. But so I kind of saw psychiatry as a place where, the human soul is this kind of frontier still. Mental health is the place where the human soul and the body kind of come together in special ways. And so I really became enamored of the practice of psychiatry as a way that I could serve patients, provide for my family, and also continue learning over time, and about the soul and the human person and that kind of stuff. When I went to med school, I got super excited about everything I did, pretty much. Delivering babies, stitching up lacerations, sticking sharp things in lots of places. I got an award for the, I don't know if I ever told you this, best medical student for the kidney nephrology rotation, because I would talk to people about end-of-life stuff, and that was just a hard thing for that team to do, but it came pretty easily to me. So I did settle in the end on psychiatry's the place to be. And since then, it's been quite an adventure. Moved to Nashville 16 years ago, have 9 kids. We have a farm. I work with a new school, Chesterton Academy, that we've started, a high school. And I work in my own practice, primarily addiction psychiatry, and then participating with you in this great adventure of starting Fiat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're not actively seeing patients at Fiat, just to be clear. You That's right. In the background, obviously founded this and we own it together, but right now not seeing patients. But yeah, I love that. I love your story. What about you? What's your story in a 3-minute nutshell? It's hard to do. Yeah, you did a great job. Yeah, I grew up in the military. My dad was in the Air Force for 30 years. So, I think I lived 13 different places before going to college or something. So kind of a vagabond, but went and got my BSN at Franciscan University. I met my husband in high school, actually, and we got married while we were in college. After graduating, we moved to the Nashville area, just kind of as a shot in the dark. We knew one person here, and we really wanted good, solid community. And that's exactly what we found. So we haven't left. We love it. And went back for my master's shortly after having our 3rd baby for my nurse practitioner. And that was a whole whirlwind in itself, having 3 kids under 3 while in a master's program. And my husband was teaching at a middle school full time. And
We had a lot of help from a lot of people. We did a little home graduation ceremony after I graduated. Everyone was sobbing. It was not a dry eye because it was a lot of work. But so I got my master's, and then I worked for a short stint in the Minute clinics and then at a pediatric primary care office. Really got into medicine just out of a love for people. My mom said growing up I could talk to a tree. So I thought about becoming a counselor because I thought, well, I like talking to people and people like talking to me. People are always coming to me with their issues, even as a kid, and encountered somebody who was going to nursing school and thought, well, I love the human body and that's really intriguing to me. And I love counseling, and nursing seems like a really great marrying of both of those. And when I graduated with my BS and my bachelor's, I said I would never, ever, ever go back to school. And I think that's, when God laughed and opened the door later for me to do that. But I absolutely love doing primary care. I love walking with families, getting to know them, having that long relationship with them. It's just such a gift to me, and I hope to them as well. Yeah, that's a little bit of words.
That's really well said. And I know you very well, and I think that's extremely accurate. And one of the things that is really cool about what we're doing here is that we are able to kind of capture what you do really well in medicine and propose the good things about that as an ideal for other providers who also want to relate that way to their patients. And that way, then it's not just you, it becomes more and more providers who are able to practice in a way that's so meaningful, and then patients all benefit from that.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to, how did we get started with Fiat? Where did this
come from? That's a great question. Yeah. So about 2.5 years ago, I was working in pediatric primary care. I loved it. Loved my job. And it was COVID time, 2022-ish, right? And I was semi-unexpectedly fired. I had seen it coming down the pipe, just based on the culture of the office, that I was not fitting in there. I had even applied and interviewed to some other jobs, even though I loved my job. So I was fired, went into work on a normal day. And by the end of the day, I was packing my stuff up, had a conversation with my boss who gave me my 3 weeks paid vacation and went home without a job. So that was a little jarring in one sense. Yeah. And I was, and still am, the primary provider for our family. At the time, we had just recently had our 5th baby. My husband worked part-time and I was working semi-part-time, full-time. So yeah, there was a lot of peace in that, a lot of peace. I was not afraid at all, but it was okay, well, we really have to get to work, finding something and doing something. And all right, Lord, what door are you going to open?
I remember you at that time having a lot of peace, but also very much a sense of determination and urgency.
Yeah. It was okay, I would think we timed it of this is how much savings we have. Ben's working a little bit extra. I think we've got 5 or 6 weeks here before we need another paycheck. So I got connected with a lot of really great people, had opportunities at some clinics, but I had this very small idea for a clinic that was primary care, that cared for the whole person, mind, body, and soul, and the Catholic anthropology, Catholic worldview that just didn't exist here. I had patients texting me saying, please open your own clinic. I even met with quite a few nurse practitioners who had opened their own clinics, and they were all telling me how long it took them, the months and months of work they put in, the loans they took out. And I was like, there's just no way I could open my own thing. And I don't, it just seems like such a huge mountain to climb. It seems impossible, but I couldn't let go of that idea. So in my networking, obviously I reached out to you. We'd known each other for 8 or 9 years at that point. Maybe you can remember that day, but I felt like I just rambled about this idea. I was I don't know what you're doing, and I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is possible, but I have this idea of a Catholic family practice, that could serve our community, that could have counseling even and mental health. And what do you think about that?
What did I say? What do you remember?
I remember you saying, yeah, that sounds amazing. I want to be a part of this. And I've been thinking about integrative health, and I've been looking into some of this, and I want to be able to support you. If you said, I have no time, but I have, an office space. I just so happen to have an office space that you could move into tomorrow and start using. And, I have some finances that I'd be able to help get this off the ground, but I can't give you any of my time. And I said, well, all I have is time and energy and determination. And so, yeah, that's what I remember you saying. Do you remember?
I will never forget that day. The details of what we talked about, may escape, but that sounds about right. My recollection is that the idea was energizing. It resonated deeply with me. And over the next probably couple days and few days that we talked more and discerned, it became really clear to me that this was a call, that I wanted to fully participate with whatever I could bring to the table. But I didn't know how I was going to stretch to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's also where our name came from.
Yeah. No, I remember distinctly you said when we met that first time, I want this for my kids and I want this for my grandkids. I want this for my family. And that resonated with me. And then over the next week, I remember we both, were discerning. I was discerning with Ben, my husband, about okay, are we going to actually do this? Looking into if it was logistically going to work and thinking about a name. And yeah, everything just fell into place in terms of a supervising provider. Obviously the space, my husband just happens to be in construction and was able to renovate the office over the next, 2 weeks and to make it a space that we could use. And then, the name came to me. I think it was 11 o'clock at night or something. I was working on the website and hadn't really settled on a name. And I don't know, it felt very out of the blue. It was just Fiat, of course. This is our yes. This is our response to the culture.
Anyone who doesn't know Latin or hasn't heard this before, Fiat is not named after a small little car, but is Latin for essentially saying, let it be done, which is in Scripture, Mary's response to the angel at the Annunciation when he offers her God's message of the incarnation. And she says, let it be done unto me. And completely trusting that God knows what he's doing, and all he wants is for us to be receptive. I mean, to me, it was obvious at the time, there's a hand guiding this, and we are just to say yes, and God will make it fruitful in some way.
Yep. Yeah, I remember emailing you 11 o'clock at night, what about Fiat Integrative Health? I don't think we even discussed another name. I don't remember ever throwing out anything else. It was just an immediate, and you replied, which I was surprised by, but it was yes, perfect. that was it. It was so fitting. And then we did, we were intentional with Fiat Integrative Health. I think that was something too that has been very interesting since we opened, that the word integrative is actually quite ambiguous. It means something different to every person that sees it.
That's right.
I think it's funny because we'll get patients maybe who go to the emergency department and a physician there is integrative. Do they do well checks or do they practice medicine there? And then on the other side, we really saw it kind of twofold of integrative of mind, body, and soul, right? As humans, we're called to be integrated. And then also, yes, taking a more holistic, integrative view in terms of medicine as well. What did it mean to you when we kind of landed on that name?
Well, you were right that it has proven to be a sufficiently ambiguous term, but I think that allows us a space to kind of take it back and infuse it with some meaning. And what it does mean to us is from an anthropological standpoint, or from an understanding of the human person, is that the human person is not just material, but is infused with an immortal soul and will live forever. And that means something about the nature of the human person, and that proper flourishing or functioning of a human person, which you could say is, optimal health, is a bodily thing, it's a relational thing, and it's a spiritual thing. So it's if we're in a model where we just focus on the mitochondria of someone's cells, we may miss completely some other big parts about their overall functioning that determines their health. So just broadening the conception of what health and flourishing means for a human person allows us then to integrate the person, to aim for their integration, their proper functioning of all their parts, spiritual, psychological, bodily, all the way down to like their gut flora, their relationship with their lactobacilli in their gut and their relationship with their child and et cetera, right? And with themselves, as well as then allowing us as a model to integrate many different kinds of providers into that model who can address that. And the great fun and excitement that and creativity that has allowed within just the context of providing standard healthcare. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I think it's been really fascinating touching on providers that I think medicine just kind of did start with that integrative model, right? Like the doctor in the town who knew your family, knew what was going on in your life. And that was almost built in to be integrative. And the more we've moved from that into this compartmentalized Western medicine, it's really lost so much of that it's become so transactional in a lot of ways. And that's what I find so interesting because, people will comment to me or leave reviews or, just tell me how grateful they are and how amazing this is. And all I can think of is this is what it's supposed to be. This is just the right way to do it. We're not doing anything crazy in terms of going above and beyond. We're just treating human beings as they're supposed to be treated, with a soul.
That's sort of our tagline, isn't it? Healthcare as it's meant to be.
Yeah, as it's ought to be, And so one thing we recognized pretty quickly after opening was providers specifically were, knocking on our door hey, I heard through the grapevine, maybe before we even had a website, my friend told me what you're about to be doing and I want to be a part of that. And then that just hasn't stopped. People always being oh, can I come work here? Which is a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. But we recognized soon that our mission was really towards to providers that didn't have a place to work that really aligned with their morals and values. They're stuck in this cogwheel of Western medicine, and their gifts weren't being used. Their gifts and talents aren't being used because they're just, this is the function you do and this is all you do. And so transactional that, we really see ourselves as a garden where providers, whether that's a counselor or a nurse practitioner or a physician, can come be planted and let us find the right sunshine and the water and make the soil fertile so that you can be who God made you to be with the gifts and talents and education that you have.
Yeah. So when you say transactional, I think of as kind of the opposite of integrated or integrative is another word is fragmented, right? The care that we usually experience in the healthcare system is very fragmented. And it leads also to fragmenting of us as providers. We feel like we can't bring our whole self to our care of our patients. One way that we are very conscious of is we have to be unwaveringly committed to finding the truth about what works and doesn't work for human beings.
Yeah.
And then there's so much bias, money, power that is really skewing how healthcare providers interpret the evidence of what treatments are effective for all sorts of things that we end up with. You have to work in a system like that, so it's very fragmenting. You can't think outside of certain lines, even if you don't know that. You also can't bring your personality into healthcare a lot of times. We are certainly advocates of being professional. We hold ourselves to very high standards, but we do want our providers to sort of flourish in their own way and kind of in their own personalities. But maybe I want to say something about kind of our values of what we look for in team members for Fiat and how that has contributed to our culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we really took a lot of time, you and I, sitting down and discerning and talking through what are our values, what is our mission. And so the three things we really came up with that we already embodied and those who work with us embody and realize, this is what we're looking for. One of them being wonder, which exactly what you just touched on, just that initial spark of maybe something should be done differently here. Maybe this isn't the right answer. I think it's really fascinating in Western medicine that you just follow guidelines when like medicine is an art, the art of medicine. And so going back to that, putting it in a provider's hands as like, hey, this is your art of medicine. So that initial wonder and then the truth kind of goes hand in hand with that. You have that initial spark and then seeking the truth when maybe other people aren't seeking the truth out or aren't questioning things. And then having a servant heart. I think all of us really are just very giving. And I think that's often a characteristic of people in healthcare in general. But I always love to share the example of how, like, when we first opened, all the husbands and people came and on a Saturday and helped paint the office, and it's constantly in the office. It's like, oh yeah, I'm watching so-and-so's cats while they're gone, or I'm bringing a meal to so-and-so because they're not feeling well. People really just with a selfless love of others, not counting the cost. And that's been just really beautiful to see how those really do clarify, when I do interviews or seek out providers, being able to touch on those has really helped build our culture and who's here.
That's right. And it gives us a way to help encourage our team members in their qualities already, helps them to grow because it's something we're specifically looking to cultivate. Servant hearts. So you're not going to burn out, wonder, so that you remain creative and curious. And so, yeah, that's been helpful to have that clear. What about team culture, or what have we tried to do with Fiat's culture that makes us unique?
Sure. I mean, I think from the beginning, we realized after, we opened and like, okay, the community needs this. Focusing in on our culture here was if we are well taken care of, if the office staff, if the providers are all well taken care of, then from that is going to flow really great care. And so, there were things from the very beginning that I wanted to be really intentional about. And I think part of it was too, just having come from, working in hospitals and Western medicine and feeling like I was never cared for as an employee, I think I got like a $20 gift card once, and that was like, wow, to Kroger for Christmas or something. So feeling that kind of lack in general. So some things that we do are we try and do a quarterly event outside of work. Sometimes it's with the whole family, like a fall bonfire or a summer pool party. We try and do like a Christmas adult dinner. Every month we have a priest come in who typically will give a small formation talk. Sometimes we'll hear confessions. We'll say mass for us here in our clinic. We have a chapel. And then we'll celebrate like the month's birthdays then. And, we'll buy lunch for everybody. And we recently just started having childcare here in the clinic to be able to have like nursing mothers would be able to nurse on demand. And then...
For the mothers who work here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Not for patients' kids. So that'd be great too one day.
Fiat daycare.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have a little daycare. But that's great little example of something that is very, very meaningful for a mother who's wanting to return to work. Mm-hmm. So the emphasis is on what is best for our providers. And when they're taken care of, they're able to then, from that place, offer, very good care mm-hmm. to their patients.
Yeah. And I think too, I try to be very intentional with lunchtime too. I think that's, the one office I worked at, everyone worked through lunch all the time. We had an hour, but it was like most people sat at their desks with Netflix on. And that was always really difficult for me because I thought, gosh, like what a travesty. There's all these beautiful people here and you don't even get to like know each other. It was so transactional again. I'm clearly only here to work and that's it. I don't see the dignity of the other human person on the desk next to me because so that was a big thing for me was, could we take a really intentional lunch hour, take a break from work, because that's good for the human person. And then also, a lot of times we'll go out on walks if it's a really nice day, cultivate the culture with questions over lunch and really, really get to know each other. It's been a huge gift.
It has been. I feel like a final piece that rounds out our talking about what Fiat is to talk about the model and maybe describe real quick, like who works here now, what do we do day to day right now?
Yeah. So today, October
17th,
2024, because it's always changing. We have 4 nurse practitioners and 3 of them doing primary care. We have 1 nurse practitioner who only does women's health. So she does NAPRO. And then we have 4 counselors. We have 1 health coach. We have 1 NET provider. And then we have 2 prayer partners. So that's the clinic as a whole. Our model for primary care is quite unique because it's a direct primary care model. And that model is completely membership based. So we don't take insurance. And a lot of that discernment at the beginning, because when we opened, we said, oh yeah, of course we'll take insurance. Everybody takes insurance. That's what you have to do, right? And we very quickly realized that taking insurance would really pin us into a certain model, that we would have to see 20 to 25 patients a day. Appointments would be about 15 minutes long. And we realized that that was not healthy or good for patients, and it was not good for providers. And so we really shifted to looking to alternatives and stumbled across the direct primary care kind of movement and model and really ran with that. And it's been extremely successful for both patients and for providers.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say that most, if not all patients end up, for their care here, probably spending less than they would spend in their insurance premiums anyway and out of pocket?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think in a lot of cases, if you utilize us in the way we're supposed to be utilized and set up, where you're calling on a weekend or texting with a rash, there's many, many urgent care ER visits that I've been able to keep families from because I'm available. Our providers are available. And so, not to say that obviously if you have appendicitis, you're going to go to the ER, but, a rash on the weekend or something. And even just our accessibility during the week of something's going on and we jump on a telehealth and really can provide that personalized care, that continuity. We know a lot of our families quite well. And again, that's to me is a huge gift to be able to have that.
It's the way that they should be known by their healthcare providers. I don't think we could get through this topic in as much depth as it deserves, but that the healthcare model in the United States is very broken. And we realized pretty soon that if we were going to play on that field and by those rules, that we were not going to be able to be consistent with most of our values.
Right.
And so we're very thankful that other models exist and that they're very well received.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm certain we could do a whole half hour on direct primary care. Maybe one day we will. But I think that's really all we have time for now. So, until next time, I guess.
Until next time.
All right.
Great talking to you.
That's been great. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. To learn more, you can visit our website at fiathealth.org. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. This helps make the podcast easier to find. Lastly, if you'd like to reach out, ask a question, or suggest a topic for a future show, send us an email at media@fiathealth.org. God bless.